You know your campaign's going to be a train wreck if you find a deck of many things. So there I was, playing a bard that couldn't do any combat damage at all because he was purely just a buffer for the team and debuffed the enemies and ran around and did a whole bunch of crazy shenanigans. He was just a simple man trying to make his way in life, and the best way to do that, of course, was to tag along with a band of adventurers that could do all the damage for him. This bard was named Marcellus Marion, and he is a legend in my books. Lo and behold, during the course of our many adventures, we stumbled across a dwarven hold which was full of goodies. We went to go plunder the place after dealing with a whole bunch of Dwergar, undead, demons, devils, fiends. We went up against some elementals and constructs. We fought it all. And eventually, at the finish line, we finally found it. This veritable treasure hoard filled with thousands upon thousands of gold. A whole bunch of magical weapons and armors and potions. But none of that could compare with a tiny little box. And of course, when we all saw this box, we knew we were in for a terrible yet glorious time. There it was, the deck of many things. There was nothing really of value for me as the bard because the only thing I ever really did was simply play a little instrument and help out the party. So everyone got a bunch of gold, everyone got a whole bunch of weapons and armors, but me, I got the deck. I, in the palm of my hand, held the deck of many things, which would spell ultimate disaster for not only my compatriots, but also for the entire campaign. So we had a rule when it came to loot. You keep what you get, and you don't steal from others. So everyone got whatever awesome items they got, but me, I was the sole holder of the deck of many things, and no one else was allowed to carry it. However, I would graciously allow anyone that wanted to go ahead and pick a card. Now, Marcellus Marion, while he might have been a frivolous individual who couldn't keep a single gold because whenever he got any amount of gold, he would always spend it, he recognized that the deck was far too powerful and not worth drawing. But it's always good to be friends with someone that is rich. It's always good to be friends with someone who's powerful. And most important of all, it's good to not be dead. So, of course, Marcellus would allow all of his friends to draw from this deck. After making our way back from this dwarven hold, everyone was curious, everyone was excited with anticipation. They wanted to draw from this deck. And that is when it all started going downhill. The first person to draw from the deck drew 50,000 gold. My goodness, gold everywhere. He was rich. And he decided, you know what, that wasn't enough. I'm going to draw again. And he drew. And he lost all of his magical items. They all simply vanished. And then he was left with only 50,000 gold. What does he do? He draws another card. That's a tough trade there, but hey, you know, he was rich, so he went and spent a lot of that gold. Another person went to draw from the deck, and lo and behold, their stats went up. They felt supercharged. They felt powerful. Another person drew from the deck, and they found a powerful item, a weapon, and it appeared right before their very eyes, and he had it. And then another person drew from the deck, and that is when we saw the true horrors of the deck emerge. When my necromancer friend pulled from the deck of many things, an avatar of death appeared before us and exclaimed, "You must fight me one-on-one to the death!" And that avatar of death chased down that necromancer. Unfortunately for the necromancer, there was no conceivable way he could actually damage the avatar of death. All of his damage was necrotic, and he simply couldn't do a thing. So we all sadly watched as the Avatar of Death chased around our necromancer friend until he grew tired, and the Avatar of Death smote him where he stood. And of course, when you are slain by an Avatar of Death, you cannot come back. That is when we began to realize how terrible this deck was. But what was also interesting was the fact that this deck had a special property that made it unlike any other deck of many things we've ever heard about. When these cards were pulled, yes, they disappeared. But eventually, the cards regenerated. It was a never-ending deck of many things. And so, now armed with this deck of many disasters, Marcellus Marion traipsed around the land with his compatriots, and his friends would pull from this deck many a time. And of course, every once in a while, Marcellus would in fact get some common folk, or maybe even some friendly NPCs, or even some enemy villains to grab from the deck of many things. And my oh my, did it lead to absolute disaster. One time on a very important mission, halfway through, we decided to, hey, just have a quick little draw. And then all of a sudden, my rogue friend disappeared. He got transported away to the donjon. And we had to go on an epic planar travel to go ahead and find him. Another person drew from the deck at one point, and their intelligence started to super exceed and was far above everyone else's. And then just a little while later, someone else drew from the deck, and their intelligence went down, and they are permanently stupid. Later on, we found out that a noble individual was acting not so noble behind the scenes, and when we caught up to his ruses, we went and interrogated him. And when we did, I offered him the chance to draw from the deck. And when he did, he actually drew a servant to his side. All of a sudden, appearing right next to him was a noble knight that was right there with him and was willing to help out the guy. You know, that was pretty hilarious. At one point, we were searching through the sewers of a nearby town, and wouldn't you know it, there was a group of kobolds under there. The kobolds were friendly to me because at least I was willing to negotiate with them, and I persuaded the head of the kobold group here to draw from the deck. And there is when it happened. This kobold drew a weapon, and a magnificent weapon appeared before them. A dagger which was wreathed in flame, which made him stand far above his own compatriots. Wow, that kobold sure got one heck of a raise. I can't even begin to recount every single time the cards were pulled from this deck, but needless to say, it was quite a few. Over the course of that campaign, Marcellus Marion gave out so many cards that the entire world would never be the same afterward. But that was okay, because like I said, Marcellus Marion wasn't the smartest guy, but he was friends with the smartest people. He wasn't the richest person, but he was friends with the richest people. And he wasn't that powerful, but he was friends with the most powerful people. And over the course of that entire campaign, after all those cards were drawn, after everything was said and done, Marcellus never dared to draw from the deck. He had seen the good, of course, but most important of all, he had seen the bad. He'd seen people teleported away, never to return. He'd seen the souls of someone sucked out. He'd seen devils strike out and demand retribution against them. He had seen so much, and he was never willing to risk it. That deck of many things truly was a deck of many disasters. And after that campaign was concluded, my DM finally realized something. If you're going to include one of the most powerful artifacts in all of the world, never allow it to regenerate. And that's the story on the deck of many disasters. Thank you all so much for listening. Once again, I am experimenting with storytelling, and I want to go ahead and see what works best for everyone. Should I be a bit more animated? Should it be more scripted? Should I be using voices? I want to figure out what works best because I have a lot of stories to tell, and I want to tell them. That is going to do it for this video, though. Thank you all so much for listening, and thank you to my amazing patrons, Mike, Harmony Ginger, Todd, Jazz, Masterhawk, JB, and Hunter Reed. You are incredible. Thank you so much for your amazing patronage. You guys are absolutely incredible. Thank you so very much. That is going to do it for this video, though. Thank you so much for listening, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one.